What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's full-time reaction to Celtic 2, Sturm Graz 1. Just a solo full-time reaction for you tonight. Only me, but I thought it was a welcome win, a much-needed win, obviously, off the back of the recent run that we've been on. We, of course, didn't get the best start to the game with Iheanacho going off after 2 minutes. And we'll come back to that when we look ahead to the weekend later on in the video. Johnny Kenny came on to replace him. And that wasn't the end of the injury problems for Celtic tonight, because then we lost Alistair Johnson, who has just returned from a hamstring injury. It looked like it was just a recurrence of it. Maybe he's been put back in too soon. That's certainly what it looked like. So that was a huge blow for us, both of those players having to go off. And then we went behind in the game. Before we talk about that goal, this is obviously a live format. You need to be subscribed to get involved. Please put your comments, your questions in. We've got a poll running for man of the match as well. You can see that in the live chat. Get your thoughts in, and I'll try and pick out any good ones as I go through. We did go behind in the game to a stunning strike from Horvat from Sturm Graz. I think in the build up to that, the ball's gone out to Tierney and he's tried to play a short pass into Tenecti's feet. And I think he should just be a bit stronger, Tenecti, because we turn it over and then the ball comes into midfield and you can't take anything away from the strike. I thought it was an absolutely incredible strike, thinking back to that opening goal that Braga scored, where it was from a similar distance, but you were crying out for Kasper Schmeichel. You had no idea how you managed to let it go in, but this one was hit with real pace, whipped into the top corner. It was a brilliant goal. And that did put us in the back foot. You think about Iheanacho and Johnson going off, being a goal down. It had that feel in the first 20-25 minutes that it could be more of the same. Don't get me wrong, in the first 10-15 minutes, I think you could tell there was an intent from the team to play at a higher speed, to play at a better tempo. It didn't quite work for us though. I think Johnny Kenny, all round tonight, to be fair to him, did well. I think he shows lots of endeavour. I think he runs really hard. He chases things down. There's no lost causes for him. I think his movement was good at times tonight. Again, he lacked that quality in front of goal, which probably is why, certainly I think, that he can't be that first choice Celtic striker. But like I say, loads of endeavour, worked hard, showed good movement, made things of lost causes. And I think he did help us in the game. And he gets that chance where he robs the defender on the touchline, cuts inside, puts it by the post. But after that sort of 25-minute, half an hour mark leading to half time, we had a really good 10-minute spell where we started to pick up the momentum in the game. We did create a few good chances. I mean, I think that was the story of the first half, really. We just looked a wee bit lacking in conviction and belief, which is understandable for a team that are really not in good form and they're off the back of a really disappointing defeat at the weekend. So you can understand that. I think the good chances in the first half, lots of them. I mean, Engels had the header off the line. Nygren got into some good positions. Nygren, who ends up getting the winning goal from the corner in the second half, he had so many good chances tonight. He's a bit of an enigma, Benjamin Nygren. He's one of these players who, I mean, he's scoring goals, he's getting chances, but he also drives you mental for most of the game. There's a spell there tonight, just 10 minutes before he got his goal, where you think, what are you doing? He had that header where Scales played a brilliant direct ball, chipped it over the centre half. He times his run to perfection. And I can see Gary commenting, he's got a head like a 50-pence piece, because that's what it looked like. You think, this is a goal, this is equaliser right here. And he somehow manages to head it about 5 yards wide, despite the fact that he was standing on the 6-yard line. It's a great chance, and I think that kind of sums it up for Nygren. He goes on to score a brilliant header, which wins us the game from an Engels corner. But I mean, he could have had a hat-trick easily tonight, Benjamin Nygren. And he is one of those players where he just frustrates you at times. He's got ability, he can score goals, he gets into positions, but a lot of the time he does frustrate you from time to time. Don't get me wrong, I think it is a problem that Iheanacho's now out. I think Kenny does give you much better running and much better endeavour. more energy, I suppose, off the ball than Iheanacho does, but it's going to be a problem for us going forward if Iheanacho has pulled his hamstring. It looked like a hamstring problem for any that weren't watching the game on telly. That's what they confirmed. So I think that is a bit of an issue because Kenny, you would think, might start the game on Sunday. He's the only real option. None of these other strikers are anywhere near contention. Yamada, Osman, they're all effectively B team players at this stage. And I think we can see tonight the chicken's coming home to roost in terms of the situation we ended up in with striker in the summer, because Iheanacho's gone from not having kicked a ball to us relying on him 3 games a week, every week. And to be honest, you can't be surprised that he's pulled up with an injury. It is a bit strange. It's 2 minutes in. Maybe he felt something in the warm-up and he didn't tell the manager or the medical team, or we just thought we would chance it, even if we did know, because we're in that sort of situation. And that's probably the situation with Alistair Johnston as well, where the manager thinks, I've got to play him. The way the team's playing, the problems we've had on the right-hand side of the pitch, I've got to get Alistair Johnston back in the team. But it comes back to bite us, because ultimately he's probably going to have another lengthy spell out now, because, as I say, it looked like a recurrence of the hamstring injury, which he's just missed 9 or 10 weeks with. So those are big problems for us. But I think that 10-minute spell before halftime really swung the momentum in the game. And I thought Tenekte, in the first half an hour, again, maybe overdid it at times and didn't make the right choice or release the ball quick enough. Played a short pass when he could maybe have got across into the box. But I thought as the game went on, he really grew. And again, he was a constant threat. He's the one player in the team that I think you want to get the ball to right now, even though sometimes things aren't coming off for him. I think he's a constant threat and a danger, and he's trying to make things happen. There's no doubt the end product does really need to improve, but again, he was an outlet for us, and really he was a go-to man in terms of when we're in possession, we're trying to get the ball out to that left-hand side, and he was causing the Sturm Graz fullback huge problems. And then obviously they made that change in that area of the pitch at half-time as well. So I think Tenekte played well. I don't think he's on the man of the match poll right enough. Let me know if there's any. I think I can only put 4 options on the poll. So let me know if I've missed anybody. And there are a few comments about Rio Hatate coming in. Scott Wallace, Rio is posted missing for most of the game. And Willie saying Rio had his mojo back tonight. Good to see. I think those 2 comments really sum up Rio Hatate. I said Nygren's a bit of an enigma. I think Rio Hatate, that's performance tonight sort of summed up where he's at. It was like a microcosm of his whole Celtic career, because I think he did have some nice moments, some really good incisive passes. He made some runs forward towards the end of the first half, and it's amazing the difference in the team when you play at a bit of speed and people run forward and you pass the ball forward. With a couple of really nice passes in between the centre half and the fullback, particularly down that left-hand side, and we got a bit of joy from it. I think Hatate could have scored himself. He obviously had that great chance, I think 25 seconds into the second half, where Johnny Kenny does well. If Johnny Kenny actually gets too much on his flick and Nygren goes into challenge with the Sturm Graz centre half and it breaks to Hatate, he gets in on his left foot, just blazes it over. But I think a couple of minutes after that, you think he's full of confidence, finished the first half well, has had a great chance there, nearly scored. And then twice in the 10 minutes that preceded that, I think he showed a 5-yard pass shot to Donovan. He had another one a couple of minutes later, and it's just so frustrating because you know he's got the ability, but he's just so lackadaisical at times. He had one in the first half where the ball comes into midfield and he just wrapped it back to Carter Vickers, absolutely hammered it at him about knee height. Carter Vickers had to run back to get it. Rio Hatate, you go from thinking, right, that maybe we're going to see a performance from him now, to the inconsistencies just creeping back time and time again. So I do think that you can hear murmurings in the crowd. I could hear them watching the game, the murmurings when Hatate makes these mistakes, because I think people are losing patience with him and have been. Bob saying his concentration is what lets him down. I agree with that. I think he does look at times like he maybe loses concentration. I think he plays too safely at times. There was one in the second half where we were on the counter-attack and there was a huge sort of uproar from the crowd because he just decided to turn back in, and we ended up going backwards with the ball, and he does that time and time again, and that is something that the fans have found frustrating, understandably, given the criticisms of the way the team have been playing. When you get an opportunity to break forward at speed, it seems to be that Hatate always chooses the option to keep the ball and let us build out slowly and safely, and we do too much of that, and that's the thing we want to get rid of. But I thought second half, Nygren again has, after the 50 pence header that goes wide, Colby Donovan swings a great ball in. He just flicks it with his left foot, and I think it's a good save from the Sturm Graz goalkeeper. For all the chances we created, and for all the momentum we had in the game, we hadn't produced too much in the way of good saves from the Sturm Graz goalkeeper, but that was one, and immediately goes out for the corner. And I think credit to Nygren, because I think he takes it quickly. He takes it quickly into Engels, and Engels, who I thought was very good tonight, I'll come back to him in a minute. Engels plays the ball into Donovan, and Donovan just gets enough on it to guide it to Liam Scales. And yes, to his credit, it was a very good finish. I think his countryman Johnny Kenny could have done with some of that finishing ability at times tonight, because that was the one thing that his performance lacked. But it was a really good finish for Scales. Got us back into the game, and then immediately, within 3 minutes, we're in the lead, and I think we deserved it. I think we deserved the equaliser, and I think for the momentum we had for that 10-minute spell before half time, and the way we started the second half, we did deserve to go in front. And again, it's an Arne Engels corner, and it's a great header from Nygren, and he just manages to wrestle himself free. It's right in on top of the goalkeeper. From a Sturm Graz point of view, they're probably disappointed with it, but I think for us, a great delivery into the box, and a really good header from Nygren again. Could have had 3 or 4 tonight, but important that he got that one, because that gave us a lead in the game. And obviously 10 minutes later, Sturm Graz go down to 10 men. At the time, I think the first replay they showed of it was from behind it, and I thought they're going to overturn that. It's never a sending off. But when you see it from the proper angle from the side, Chukwani does leave his left foot high, sort of leaves his studs up, and McGregor goes in full-blooded, which I think there was much more of tonight. There was much more commitment in the Celtic challenges. There was much more aggression in them. Engels had a good one in the first half where he won the ball back in the edge of the box, and he was strong and he showed aggression, and that's something that we want to see more of from everyone, but particularly from Engels, because that's the thing he's maybe lacked at times in his Celtic career so far. He actually should have done better when the chance eventually comes to him. He cuts back onto his left foot and the shot gets blocked. But I think across the game tonight, there was more commitment. There was more of the basics that Brendan Rodgers talked about, the things that come before the talent. There was more of that tonight, which is good. I think that's, as I said in the build-up, it's the bare minimum you can expect for a Celtic team to do those things, and I think we did them. I think we deserved to go ahead in the game, and once Sturm Graz go down to 10, you actually think that we might go on and win it more comfortably. And Johnny Kenny does have a couple of chances. Arne Engels swings in a great ball. That's the trademark. Apart from the corners, that's Arne Engels' trademark. If he can get on the half turn in a sort of deep right wing position and just whip the ball in that sort of corridor of uncertainty, as they call it in commentary, in behind the centre halves, and as a great ball. Good movement from Kenny, as I said. That was something he did well in spells tonight. Wee burst of intensity, spun in behind the defender, but his finish was poor and he couldn't get enough on it. So I think we should have had more goals. I think we should have made it more comfortable. I guess the attention does turn to Sunday and where we think the team is at for that game. I do think that it's a totally different prospect, the game on Sunday, away from home, at a hostile venue, against a team that's full of confidence and playing well. But I think it's really positive for us that we kind of stopped the rot tonight and we got a win on the board, and we showed some signs of positivity in the sense that, like I say, we did the basics much better. We played at a higher tempo after the first 20-25 minutes. Eventually we got there, and we managed to carve out a win, and we know that winning's good for everybody, good for the players' mood, good for the manager, good for the supporters as well. I just want to bring up a super chat from Ian. Thanks, Ian. That should have been more comfortable with the chances we had, but happy with the win. I think that'll be the predominant feeling. That'll be the takeaway from tonight. A win that we needed in the context of the Europa League, but probably more importantly than that, a win that we just needed in general for the situation that we find ourselves in. Hopefully it can give the players some confidence going into Sunday. I have concerns about Sunday, and tonight hasn't dispelled them. I think going to Tynecastle is difficult for any Celtic team because it is a difficult place to go, and it's less really about how well Hearts might be playing and the sort of story that surrounds them so far this season. It's more about where we're at, because looking at the domestic away game last week, you've obviously got huge concerns about how we go into that game on Sunday. So let us know in the comments, first of all, what you think we should do in terms of the team on Sunday. I'll be back with the starting 11 prediction, obviously, on Saturday, but I think it's a huge call for Brendan Rodgers. I think Donovan's got to play it right back. Let us know in the comments what you think of Donovan's performance tonight. I think if it's between him and Ralston, it has to be Kobe Donovan. There's no doubt, obviously, he is inexperienced, naturally. Hasn't played a lot of first-team football. Gave away a couple of cheap fouls at times. And defensively, he'll have to be switched on. I think the one where Keitishvili hits the post for Sturm Graz just before half-time, for all our momentum in the game, it could have been 2-0 to Sturm Graz. I think he's just in the wrong position, Kobe Donovan, and that gets the ball in behind us down the left-hand side. It was actually similar to a goal that Rangers conceded in their game tonight, where Tavernier was in the wrong position. So there is some things that Kobe Donovan obviously has to develop and improve on as such a young kid, but I think the energy he gives to the team and going forward, a couple of nice balls into the box, I think he is the only option at right back, because again, it looks like Johnson is going to have a spell on the sidelines now. Okay, so the best football we played was between August and December last year. Engels was integral to that. I mean, let us know what you think with Engels. Do you think that means he's got to play? He's got to start on Sunday? And Nygren on the right-hand side, that happened at Ibrox, and nobody was sure that it was any good. Everybody thought it was a failed experiment, actually, despite the fact that he has played a chunk of football there in his career. I would be inclined to possibly go with that, to go with Nygren on the right-hand side, because, like I say, we can't play Yang. It looks like James Forrest isn't considered to be in contention for a start. And if it lets us keep Engels in the team and let him build on that positive performance, then I think that is what we should do on Sunday. Stephen, yes, Engels plays. I think he's shown enough tonight. We've been looking for a lot from Anley Engels, and he's never really delivered it. The price tag is going to follow him for as long as he's here. That's the nature of it. But I think, like I say, some of the aggression that he showed tonight against the ball, we know that his delivery from set pieces is really good, generally speaking. And like I say, when he gets in those positions with time and space, he can have great delivery into the box. But I think how the midfield's been so far this season, I think Engels was a positive influence on it tonight. And hopefully he can continue that on Sunday at Tynecastle. I just wanted to bring up the stats in the game as well. So if I bring it up on the screen now, you should be able to see the stats from the game. I mean, 66% possession we ended up with. I thought we've got the XG at 4.24, so that'll prove that we probably should have won the game more comfortably. 20 shots at goal to Sturm Graz 8, 7 shots on target, and only that opening goal for Sturm Graz, that turned out to be their only shot on target of the night. So that does sort of show the domination in the game, and I think that's the sort of performance that we needed tonight. We needed a performance where we were going to create some chances, we were going to get shots on goal, we were going to play at a better tempo, just to give us a sort of sense of a fight back from the team, to give us a sort of sense of response from that disappointment on Sunday there, and I think we really needed that. A few shouts for Tenecte for man of the match. I don't know why I put Kenny in. I panicked. I had to get live, and I only had 4 options, and I went with, I think it was Kenny I put in as the last option for man of the match. But I think Tenecte probably pips him for that. Listen, Aaron, I've just given Scales credit for his finish. You missed it. I said that he should have been playing up front actually tonight because he showed more composure in front of goal than Johnny Kenny did. I think looking ahead to Sunday, could there be a? Let me know what you think of this. Do you think Nygren could possibly lead the line? I believe he's maybe done that once or twice before. There's no doubt he gets chances. I'm not sure. I think he will go, as Gerard's saying there. Johnny Kenny will be the player that leads the line. I think he's the only real option. He is the striker, the natural striker, and the only one we've got now, if Iheanacho is going to be injured. Again, I've got concerns about that. I really have got concerns about that. Any more comments? I mean, loads. There's a couple of comments negatively about Tenecte. Cuts inside too much for me. Play him in the right, get to the line and get the cross in. I've put him in the last 2 starting 11s on the right hand side because I thought Brendan Rodgers might want to put Balikwisha in from the start on the left. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. I thought Balikwisha was more positive tonight. He had that one right at the end where he got in behind and he drove at the defender. He cut inside, wrapped a shot past the post. Decent effort. Just good to see him be positive and drive at somebody and try and make something happen. Be brave. I think that's just the criticism that has been levelled at him so far. He's not been brave enough when he's got on the ball, Balikwisha. So that was a bit better. I think Tenecte for the right hand side. I'd like to see it at some stage. I'd like to see it at some stage, just to see what we can get. I think the issues in that area of the pitch mean that we're limited on options, and I think playing about with that and seeing if he can do a job there, and we can maybe slide someone like Balikwisha into the team on the left hand side. Maeda's still to come back, so that you think he obviously until January and his future might still be up in the air, but at least until January that would give another option. But again, Maeda's much more suited to playing from the left hand side. Generally, James is saying Tenecte was pants, lots of passive touches, sand dancer. I mean, I think that's harsh. I understand that. I mean, like in the first 20-25 minutes, he was dwelling on the ball too long. I think there is times where he wants to cut back inside too often. It's too easy to read. It's too predictable. And he should go on the outside more. He should get a cross into the box earlier. But I think he is probably the best of a bad bunch so far this season. And I would say to his credit, he never hides. He is a young guy just arrived at the club in a difficult circumstance. So I think he'll get better as well. He'll get better. I think there's absolutely no doubt about that. A few shouts for Yamada. Is that in regards to Sunday? Because there's probably more chance of me starting up front than Shin Yamada on Sunday. I think the manager has made it clear where Yamada's at. I mean, it would be out of the blue if Brendan Rodgers ends up throwing Shin Yamada in to start at Tynecastle after he's barely kicked a ball. Did he come off the bench against Aberdeen, second day of the season? Maybe come off the bench against Livingston in the 3-0 game. I would be astounded if Shin Yamada's involved at the weekend. A good point, actually. His end product, this is obviously Tenecte. It would be miles better if we had folk who could finish. There was one where he got to the byline in the first half and whipped in a good cross with his left foot. I think my only criticism of him there is he didn't really pick somebody out. He did fire the ball into a great area, and you could say that's up to the strikers, that's up to the attackers, the midfielders who have arrived in the box to break their neck to get there into that position. Because he's flashed it across the goal 6 yards out. If you get there and you get on the end of it, it's a goal. But maybe just a bit more composure to look up and pick someone out. But like I say, it's it's going to come, you'd think, with time and with development for a young player. Is Maeda really injured? Good question. Good question. I think people will level these things at him, given the doubts around his future and where it looks like his head has been at since the summer transfer window closed. I suppose the manager's saying that they're not sure. They're not sure about it. It was a niggle and he didn't play for Japan, and they're getting a scan and they don't know how long it's going to be. It is all a bit vague. So we'll see when he comes back. I don't know if he's going to be in contention for Sunday. Having not even made the bench tonight, I would doubt it. So the attention does turn to Sunday. It is a must win, as somebody's just said there in the chat. I think, again, I've got my doubts about it, and I don't want to end this video negatively, because that's a good win for us tonight and we needed it. And I think it was a good performance. I think there was lots of good aspects to it. I think Engels was a real positive. As we say, we've covered Tenecte at length. I think there was things to like about that performance tonight, and it was good to see that we're still alive. There's still something in that team that can go and play, and it can create chances. Should have had more goals tonight. There's absolutely no doubt about that. My concern is just about the atmosphere at Tynecastle on Sunday, because I think that's where you really need to perform. You need to be brave. You need to stand up and perform. And this will have helped the confidence of the team. But I think Hearts are full of confidence, and I think in that, when Hearts are playing well and you go to Tynecastle, we've seen better Celtic teams than this lose games at Tynecastle. So it's a huge game. I think we're going to have to be tidier defensively, even at times tonight. I know there's one shot on target for Sturm Graz, and you can say, well, they didn't create that much, but a couple of wee untidy, sloppy bits defensively at times. I think set pieces, Hearts are strong. We're going to need to be switched on there. And listen, we're 5 points behind. We need to win the game. It maybe has the feeling that for the first time, and probably I can remember, that Celtic are not heavy favourites going into a game like this. And I think that tells you where we're at. There's no doubt we need a much better performance. Even tonight's a different game, because we're playing in Europe against a team that are probably more open than Hearts might be at the weekend. But again, going away from home to a difficult venue means Sunday's a totally different prospect. But we'll deal with that in more detail on the starting 11 prediction. Any closing thoughts before I go tonight? I can't believe that's half an hour. I've been rambling here, by the way. Thanks very much to the 600 of you that have listened and stayed with me. Derek is saying a draw is okay, considering staying touch till January. Again, I think that tells you where we're at. If we're thinking a draw might be a good result, let's hope we can find a way to win that game by hook or by crook on Sunday. But I will be back with you with the starting 11 prediction in the build up to that game at Tynecastle. Who won the poll, the man of the match poll? Just before we go, maybe if I'd put Tenecte in it might have been closer. It was very close between Engels and Scales. Engels has 45% of the vote. Scales has 37%. And I think Tenecte might well have beat Nygren, who was in 13%, and Kenny, who was in 4% as well, if I'd have remembered to put him into the poll. But that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you on Saturday with the starting 11 prediction for that game at Tynecastle. Cheers.